Hi, Andrew. So let's start from the very beginning. So can you start by telling us what was the main challenges what VC was facing before working with Saras Analytics?
Yeah, before working with Saras, we were using Shopify to track our business and our revenue and our performance, which was becoming challenging as our channels, we were primarily D2C, but as our other sales channels started to grow, it became more and more difficult to track that internally in Shopify. And then we also realized as we were growing, we had more diverse data needs. And so we were looking for a data partner that could help us easily make sense of it and truly work as a partner and not necessarily as someone doing what we tell them to do. And that was what we found in Saras. He was like a strategic partner um, who was very committed to helping us grow and helping us make sense of our data in a very standardized way, which was fantastic.
What was actually the challenge which you are facing, or like what made you actually
Sure.
understand that what was the growth driver, like retention being the growth driver, something of that sort? I can come up with such a question.
Basically, I mean, step one was for Saras to come in and really help us standardize our data across all of our sales channels and our marketing channels, and then allowing us to dive in and truly define our customers and start to uncover data about our new and returning customers in that time. And during that time, we through a number of marketing changes and acquisition changes, we started to have a really strong new customer growth. And at that point, as that grew, we realized that retention was going to become much more important than it had been in the past. And so we reached out to Saras, and Saras helped us define um, some approaches to how we can really dig in on retention using data, a data first, data centric approach to really try to drive not just revenue, but incremental revenue. And that was what we set out to do that would have been the fall of 2024.
Okay, going to my second question. So what was getting in the way of making retention that kind of a growth driver?
We had access to a lot of the tools that a lot of marketers have, tools like Klaviyo and other tools and Shopify segments and things like that. But what we felt that they were missing something, and so we wanted to dig in deeper with our segments and let our data uncover the segments as opposed to going with kind of standard segment definitions that everybody's using. And so that was the thing that was really nice about working with Saras, was that within that we gave them the freedom to say, let the data drive this and not let our assumptions drive it. And so when we did that, we started to uncover segments and definitions of segments that we hadn't really thought of, and that turned out through a strategic approach to testing that we were able to uncover some really great data and that was actionable and drove incremental revenue on the retention side of our business, which was very, very helpful.
Okay, moving on to the third question. Um, and when you started working with Saras Analytics, what did that look like for you?
Well, yeah, relative to our retention, it really worked. What we did is we started with that foundation that we had built with Saras over the previous 12 to 18 months that we were using on a daily basis to see into our business. So what they did was they dove into our data and then helped us define the attributes that mattered when it came to retention and customer conversion, and then helped us define those. I mean, it was close to 200 metrics across our customers, and then actually went out and found and used a third-party data source to add some additional data onto that. So we had even a deeper visualization of who our customers were. And then having that all in data that we were able then to action on it and ultimately be able to pull that into our marketing tools so that we can actually market to those segments in a a defined way that we can measure.
Okay, moving to question number 4. That sounds powerful. So what happened once you put all of this into action?
So what we did is once we had all of the data, it took, it takes a couple months to get all of that put together. And once we had all of that data together, what we did is we were started to work in parallel with defining some of the the tests that we were going to run, because we wanted to. My biggest thing was like, I don't want to invest money in a project if we can't, show that we can drive incremental revenue. And so what we did is we worked together on how to define our tests across the different segments that we had defined, and what drove the people inside those segments. And what we did is we developed that worked with Saras to create an A/B testing approach, where we actually did a true holdout across our customers with our campaigns. And so we were, really excited when we did the first one and it came back and they did full statistical significance analysis on the performance versus the holdout, and found that we did see, from an incremental revenue standpoint, which is very important, which was one of our goals, was to see like the incremental lift, and that we were able to truly measure that and see that in an incremental lift. And we did that. We did one campaign, and so that was great. But then, we weren't going to stop there. Focusing on the data and performance, we then moved in. We planned to do 5. We ended up doing 5 total tests across the segments. And what we found is 4 out of the 5 were statistically significant, and one of them was directional, which taken in light of the rest, I took that as a positive sign. So they were all directionally, and 4 out of the 5 were statistically significant, which was fantastic. The lift we ended up across those segments was it was like a 6x incremental return on ad spend, or excuse me, ROI lift. And it was I would say, without giving away numbers, it was a very strong 6-digit increase in incremental revenue that we were able to see in the experiments and then forecast out into over 12 months, which was very, very exciting, as retention is just becoming more and more important to our business.
Okay, so moving on to the last question. Okay, the 5th one. That's super awesome. So if another brand is listening to this and thinking about working with Saras Analytics, what would you tell to them?
I would say that they're fantastic to work with. I would say what really kind of blew me away with them is they have a very systematic approach. You hear about people say like, hey, we want to be a partner. And what does that mean? Sometimes it doesn't, the alignment on what that actually means and what they deliver on are 2 different things. But truly, Saras is a partner. They look out for us. They look into our data. They're very bought into our business and our business success. And they start to uncover things on their own and point things out to us that maybe we're not seeing. And that's not just, opportunities with like reports and things like that. It's also like revenue driving opportunities, which is great. It's great. Even if we don't necessarily do all of them, it's great to know that they're thinking in those terms. Another fantastic thing is, over the years that we've been with them, we've had multiple people on our account. And I think that's somewhat by design within Saras. They, which is, at first you hear that and you say, oh, I don't know about this. But I can tell you firsthand experience, the people are fantastic. And I hate to say plug and play because they are people, but you get new people on your account and they're up to speed like that. And they're very easy to work with, just great people and really smart people at the same time. And they're just really great to have on your team. So I don't want to tell everybody about Saras. It's kind of my secret, but I'm just kidding. But no, I really, really enjoy working with them. We're working with you guys. Fantastic.
Okay, I'm done with my questions. Thanks for that feedback. Actually, it meant a lot for us.
Yeah, no, you guys are great. I tell people, I'm like, y'all make the management. You take a lot off of my plate, like where I don't have to manage the project. You guys are managing it. They're you guys are proactive. You're bringing, especially with updates or if something, for the sake of argument, if something's off, you let us know and we work around it, or we, so everything, no one's perfect. Like, so things don't always work out, and, the communication is fantastic. So yeah, I've been extremely pleased.
Okay, kudos to Saurabh actually for this.
So it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. As always, right? It's always a team. And the
Yep.
testament to the fact that how committed you are to this is like you are up at 7. And we can see there is no light, but you are still helping us. So thanks a
True.
lot.